You spend your days trying to keep everything together. Every plan, every emotion, every person around you. You tell yourself, if I don't hold it all up, it'll all fall apart. So you overthink, overwork, and overextend yourself. Because deep down, you fear what happens when things don't go your way. You replay conversations in your head, trying to find the perfect words you should have said. You worry about how people see you, how situations might turn out, how to make sure nothing goes wrong. And even when you're exhausted, you still feel guilty for resting, as if peace is something you have to earn by doing more. But the truth is, the more you try to control everything, the more anxious you become. You start to lose sleep, trying to predict the next move life might make. You stop trusting the flow, because control feels safer than uncertainty. You begin to measure your worth by how well you manage chaos. And yet, no matter how hard you try, something always slips. People don't act the way you hope. Plans fall through. Life interrupts your perfect order. Then you start blaming yourself, thinking you should have seen it coming, done more, cared less, tried differently. You chase a version of control that doesn't exist, because control promises comfort, but delivers pressure. It keeps you stuck in a loop of fear disguised as responsibility. You tell yourself you're being strong, but really, you're just scared to let go. You want to trust life, but you don't know how. You want peace, but you keep reaching for control, not realizing they can't live in the same space. Sometimes, control isn't about fixing things. It's about protecting yourself from disappointment. It's about believing that if you manage every detail, nothing can hurt you. But pain still finds its way through. Not because you failed, but because life was never meant to be controlled, only lived. The need to control everything is a quiet kind of fear. A fear of being powerless, of being caught off guard, of being hurt again. But control doesn't protect you. It just keeps you tired, tense, and distant from peace. And one day you realize, the peace you've been chasing isn't in fixing everything. It's in finally stopping the chase. Control feels like safety. It feels like certainty in a world that changes too fast, people who shift too suddenly, and emotions that move like storms. You tell yourself, if I just plan enough, prepare enough, think enough, I can keep everything steady. But control is an illusion dressed as comfort. You believe you're protecting yourself from chaos, but in truth, you're building walls against peace. You micromanage every detail, trying to predict every possible outcome. You plan conversations before they happen. You analyze people's words, searching for hidden meanings. You hold on to things, not because they feel right, but because you're terrified of what happens if you don't. And yet, the harder you hold on, the more restless you become. You start to feel heavy, carrying everyone's problems, expectations, and moods as if they're your responsibility to fix. You tell yourself you're just being responsible, but deep down, it's fear wearing a noble mask. Fear that if you stop controlling, things will fall apart. Fear that if you let go, you'll lose something important: love, respect, security, or identity. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. You were never in control of most things to begin with. You can't control what people think of you. You can't control who stays or leaves. You can't control when life shifts, when plans fall through, or when pain visits uninvited. And yet, you still try, because control gives you the illusion of power. It makes you feel like you're doing something, when really, you're just tightening your own chains. You can't relax because your mind is always scanning for the next threat, the next mistake, the next moment to fix. Control turns life into a battlefield. You become the soldier, the enemy, and the casualty, all at once. You stop trusting the natural flow of life because you think peace comes from management, not surrender. You start believing that if something feels uncertain, it must be wrong. But uncertainty isn't the enemy. Resistance is. Peace doesn't come from knowing what's next. It comes from knowing you'll be okay no matter what happens next. Control doesn't give you peace. It gives you tension disguised as order. You mistake the stillness of control for calmness, but it's not calm. It's suppression. It's holding your breath, waiting for life to behave. The truth is, control is a form of fear. Fear of trust, fear of flow, fear of loss. And the more you try to control, the more you push away the very peace you crave. Because peace doesn't need control. It needs space. It needs acceptance, patience, and the courage to allow things to be imperfect. The moment you stop trying to control everything, you don't lose your power. You find it. Because power was never in control. It was in calm. And calm can only exist when you stop fighting what's already happening. Acceptance is often misunderstood. People think it means surrendering, giving up, or lowering your standards, but that's not what acceptance is. Acceptance is not weakness. It's the deepest kind of strength. It's the quiet decision to stop fighting life and start flowing with it. Acceptance begins the moment you stop demanding that everything be different. It's when you stop saying, "This shouldn't be happening," and start asking, "How can I move with this, not against it?" It's when you realize peace doesn't come from control. It comes from alignment, from recognizing what's yours to change, and what's meant to simply be witnessed. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of everything that happens. It doesn't mean you like it, agree with it, or want it to stay. It means you've made peace with reality as it is, not as you wish it would be. You stop arguing with what already is, because that argument is what steals your calm, your energy, your clarity. You start to see that fighting the present moment doesn't fix it. It only drains you. When you accept something, you free yourself to respond with wisdom instead of panic. You stop reacting out of fear and start acting from peace. And that shift, that small, invisible shift inside you, changes everything. Acceptance is saying, "I may not understand this yet, but I trust that I'll grow through it. I can't control what they do, but I can control how I show up. I'll give my best and let life handle the rest." Acceptance is letting go of resistance. Not out of laziness, but out of awareness. It's the knowing that life moves whether you fight it or not, so you might as well move with it. It's the courage to stand in the middle of uncertainty and still choose calm. It's choosing to stop tightening your grip on what's slipping away, and instead, open your hand to what's meant to arrive. When you live in control, every surprise feels like a threat. But when you live in acceptance, every surprise becomes a teacher. You begin to notice patterns, lessons, and timing you never saw before. Because now, your eyes aren't clouded by resistance. You become lighter. You stop forcing people to change. Stop replaying what's gone wrong. Stop trying to fix what's not yours to fix. You give people permission to be who they are. And in return, you give yourself permission to breathe again. Acceptance brings you back to the present, because that's where life actually happens, not in the regrets of the past, not in the worries of the future, but here, in this breath, in this moment. And the moment you accept what is, you finally stop running from yourself. you begin to feel something you haven't felt in a long time: stillness. That stillness is not emptiness. It's power. It's the kind of peace that doesn't depend on outcomes, apologies, or approval. It's the peace that comes when you stop arguing with life and start trusting it. Acceptance isn't passive. It's deeply active. It's choosing to meet reality with grace instead of resistance, to meet pain with patience instead of denial, to meet uncertainty with trust instead of control. And slowly you realize, acceptance doesn't make you lose control. It helps you stop needing it. You begin to trust that things can fall apart and still come together in ways you don't yet understand. You learn that peace doesn't arrive when everything is fixed. It arrives when you stop trying to fix everything. That's what acceptance really means. There comes a quiet moment, not dramatic, not loud, when something inside you just gets tired. Tired of overthinking. Tired of trying to make everything perfect. Tired of carrying the weight of things that were never yours to carry. And in that exhaustion, a new kind of strength begins to grow. The strength of release. The shift from control to peace doesn't happen all at once. It begins in small, almost invisible choices. It's when you stop chasing answers and start listening instead. It's when you stop replaying what went wrong and start asking what it's trying to teach you. It's when you finally accept that peace isn't something you find. It's something you allow. You notice that when you stop trying to control people, your relationships breathe again. When you stop trying to control outcomes, life starts to unfold in unexpected, beautiful ways. You start responding instead of reacting, no longer driven by fear, but guided by trust. You realize you don't have to have an opinion about everything. You don't have to fix everyone's emotions. You don't have to hold every falling piece together. You start to understand that things can be uncertain and still be okay, that letting go isn't losing control. It's reclaiming your calm, because control is loud, tense, and draining. But peace is quiet, simple, and steady. At first, this shift feels uncomfortable, like stepping out of armor you've worn for years. You've lived so long believing control kept you safe that peace almost feels foreign. You'll have moments where you want to take it all back, fix it again, make it right. But slowly, you'll notice something. Every time you let go, something else, something softer, takes its place. Clarity, ease, stillness, and a strange sense of relief that you can finally exhale after holding your breath for too long. You begin to see that peace doesn't mean everything around you is calm. It means you are calm even when everything around you isn't. You can walk through uncertainty without falling apart. You can hear someone's anger without absorbing it. You can face change without trying to wrestle it back into what it used to be. You realize peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the absence of the need to control it. In this new space, you start trusting timing again. You trust that what's meant for you won't need to be chased. You trust that detours aren't punishments. They're protection. You trust that sometimes not knowing is a gift, because it keeps you present enough to discover what you were never looking for. And that's when you begin to live differently. You speak slower, you listen deeper, you forgive faster, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You stop needing everything to make sense before you can feel okay. You start realizing that maybe things don't need to be under control. They just need to be. Peace becomes your new form of power, because control tries to force the world to match your expectations. But peace allows the world to move as it must, while you stay centered. You no longer get pulled by every emotion, every opinion, every storm. You become grounded, unshaken, quietly strong. And that's the beauty of the shift. You don't lose anything real when you let go of control. You just lose the weight of pretending you ever had it. You stop trying to control life and finally, slowly, numbly start living it. Acceptance isn't a one-time revelation. It's a daily practice. It's a choice you make again and again, especially on the days when your mind screams for control. Peace doesn't appear overnight. It grows quietly through small, steady acts of letting go. Every moment gives you a chance to practice. Every situation becomes a teacher. Here are 7 steps on how to practice acceptance daily. 1. Pause before reacting when something upsets you. A harsh word, a sudden change, a disappointment. Your first instinct will be to fix, defend, or resist. But pause. Just breathe. Ask yourself, can I really control this? If the answer is no, then give yourself permission to release it. That pause becomes sacred. It's where peace begins to grow, because reaction is born from fear, but response is born from awareness. And in that small moment of stillness, you remember, not everything deserves your energy. 2. Focus on effort, not outcome. Do your best, but stop trying to decide how things must turn out. You can control your actions, your honesty, your work, your kindness, but you can't control how others receive them. When you measure your peace by results, you'll always be disappointed. But when you measure it by your effort, you stay grounded no matter what happens. You begin to realize that outcomes don't define you. Your consistency does. Peace grows when you trust that what's meant for you will unfold in its own time. 3. Let go of perfection. Perfection is the silent enemy of peace. It whispers, you can rest once everything is perfect. But perfect never arrives. It keeps moving just out of reach. You'll find more peace in things that are good enough than in endless chasing. Allow yourself to make mistakes, to feel messy, to not have every answer. Life doesn't need to look flawless to feel fulfilling. When you allow imperfection, you allow growth. When you allow growth, you allow peace. 4. Trust timing. Sometimes, what feels like a delay is protection. Sometimes, silence is direction. And sometimes, the thing you're waiting for is still being built in the background of your life. You may not see movement, but that doesn't mean nothing's happening. Trust that timing has its own intelligence. You don't need to chase what's aligned with you. It finds you when you're ready. So instead of forcing what's not ready to bloom, focus on preparing the soil. Your patience, your mindset, your peace. 5. Separate. What's yours from what isn't. And every problem belongs to you. Not every emotion you feel is yours to carry. Acceptance means knowing where your responsibility ends and someone else's begins. You can care without controlling. You can help without fixing. You can love without losing yourself in the process. It's not your job to make everyone happy. It's your job to stay honest and kind while protecting your peace. 6. Find stillness in the present. Your mind will always try to pull you into the past or push you toward the future. But peace only exists here, in this breath, in this moment. Practice grounding yourself. Feel your feet, breathe deeply, observe what's around you. Let your thoughts come and go like waves, without chasing or fighting them. Stillness isn't the absence of thought. It's the gentle awareness that you don't have to follow every thought that appears. 7. Be kind to yourself while you learn. Acceptance is a lifelong process, not a test you pass. You'll have days where you fall back into control, where fear wins, where you forget everything you've learned. That's okay. Peace isn't lost in those moments. It's waiting for you to return. Forgive yourself quickly. Start again gently. Each time you return to acceptance, it becomes easier to find your way back. Because practicing acceptance isn't about changing the world. It's about changing how you move through it. It's the daily act of loosening your grip, trusting your timing, and remembering that peace doesn't need perfection. Only presence. And every time you choose presence over panic, calm over control, and trust over fear, you're building the life you once thought control would give you. There comes a day when you finally understand. Peace isn't something you find at the end of fixing everything. It's something that begins when you stop trying to. It's quiet, almost shy at first. It doesn't arrive with a grand announcement or a perfect moment. It slips in slowly, like light through the cracks of everything you once tried to control. At first, it feels unfamiliar. You're so used to tension that calm feels suspicious. You keep waiting for something to go wrong, a problem to solve, a mess to clean up, a reason to panic again. But then, you notice something different. You're breathing deeper. Your shoulders aren't as heavy. Your mind isn't chasing every thought. You start to feel lighter, not because life got easier, but because you stopped fighting what it naturally is. Inner peace doesn't erase pain, but it transforms your relationship with it. You still feel sadness, disappointment, frustration, but you don't drown in them anymore. You learn to sit with your emotions instead of running from them. You understand that peace isn't about avoiding storms. It's about learning to stand in the rain without losing your balance. You begin to realize that control always demanded perfection, but peace simply asks for presence. Peace makes you softer, not weaker. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who can't see it. You stop chasing apologies that will never come. You start saying no without guilt and yes without fear. And in that space, your confidence returns. Not the loud, defensive kind, but the quiet kind that knows its own worth. You start seeing the world differently. The little things begin to matter again. A slow morning, a deep breath, the way sunlight hits your hands. You realize how much beauty was always around you, hidden under the noise of control. You start enjoying moments without needing to capture or perfect them. You live, not to manage life, but to experience it. Inner peace also changes how you connect with others. You stop trying to control people's choices and start respecting their paths. You stop expecting others to complete you. And instead, you share your wholeness. Conversations become easier because you no longer need to be right. You just want to be real. You start attracting people who match your calm instead of your chaos. And perhaps the most powerful change of all, you start trusting yourself again. You no longer question your every move. You no longer rely on the world to validate your peace. You realize that no matter what happens, who stays, who leaves, what changes, you'll still be okay. Because peace isn't out there anymore. It's inside you. You begin to live slower, speak softer, love deeper. You understand that peace doesn't mean a life without problems. It means you don't become the problem when things go wrong. You learn to bend without breaking, to adapt without losing yourself. And in those quiet moments, you feel something sacred. Trust. Trust in life, in timing, in yourself. That's the reward of acceptance. You stop being a prisoner of control and become a student of flow. You stop clinging, start trusting. You stop forcing, start allowing. And you realize peace was never something you had to earn. It was always there, waiting for you to stop running and finally come home to yourself.